Hello, this is Nitin Dahad with the Times, and I'm here with Pat Brans, who's our correspondent here in Europe. Pat, hello, how are you?
Hi, Nitin. How are you doing? We see each other every time this time of the year.
ITF World 2026
Right.
in Antwerp, in Belgium, and it's the flagship event for Imec, one of the sort of key research institutes here in Europe. I mean, there are others, but I think we've seen a lot coming from Imec over the last few years, and we've seen over the last few years also amazing presentations on what's forward-looking in terms of technologies, research, and you actually did an interview with the new CEO. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I interviewed the new CEO, Patrick Vandenameele, and he talked to me before the event, and we talked about his five different axes of the show, or dimensions of the show. And he talked to me about one of the main themes is co-optimization. That the way forward is for different parts of the ecosystem to work together, to optimize together, depending on the application.
Yeah. Now, that just sounds like a buzzword, but I think there's when you look at the presentations and the talks, whether it was from Jensen Wong or whether it's from Patrick or Anirudh Devgan of Cadence, and there's TSMC. All of the talks pointed to a lot more of that collaborative ecosystem play, and I think that's the kind of message I was getting from all the keynotes today.
Exactly, me too. Yep.
And that's what they meant by co-optimization. It's working together. And, one of the things I think we come to all of these conferences and they all talk. I ask everybody in the audience or in the networking, so what did you get out of it? AI. Now, the problem with that kind of response is it doesn't really allow us to dig deep and say, okay, what does that mean? But then, we do try and dig deep, and I think what are the aspects I think you're seeing from what we've seen today, the conversations we've had today. I mean, also it's kind of related to some of the announcements today as well, like the quantum as well. Mm-hmm. So just tell us a little bit about those observations on what AI means, and then the quantum as well.
Sure. So AI is here to stay. Obviously, we even saw that last year already. But we talked about different aspects of AI at this particular event. One was physical AI. AMD Salil Raja came to talk, and he talked about physical AI and the differences in how robots have to act very quickly. There has to be a quick feedback loop. We also heard...
We have the robots there, by the way.
That's right behind us. We also heard from Arthur Mensch, a 33-year-old French entrepreneur, very well known in Europe, who was co-founded Mistral, which is a big French large language model. He talked about how he started in theory and research, and with his partners in research, they founded Mistral, which was a French large language model, and they started out using it for having consumers use it, but then it became useful for the enterprise. And he talked about the intricacies of training, adapting the model to enterprises and training the data on the enterprise data, and training the model on the enterprise data, and having it gain context based on the enterprise. Yeah.
And then, I mean, before we... Okay, let's go into the quantum, because
sure.
That's a big
quantum as well, yeah.
From Imec as well today.
Right. Okay, so quantum... I think it was last year they already talked about partnering with ASML.
Yeah.
ASML. ASML.
Yeah.
And they were getting some equipment from ASML to do EUV lithography, and more recently they used that to make a qubit, or demonstrate that a qubit could be made using high NA EUV lithography. That was a big announcement today. And I talked to Christian de Grieve about that.
Yes.
He heads the program in quantum, and we talked. He explained some of the reasons behind doing that, getting the qubits closer together, and he talked about the drivers for having quantum qubits produced on silicon and on CMOS to make use of the industry that exists already.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, because I was listening in to your interview with him, and you said, okay, yeah, it's all been talked about so far, but what's next now for quantum? I think you kind of asked that.
Right.
He kind of said, like, you talked about manufacturing.
Right.
So
right.
What was his response?
Okay, so one of the questions was about when is quantum going to be going to move from a physics challenge to an engineering
Correct,
challenge?
yeah.
And he said it already has, basically, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to find ways of manufacturing qubits in a reliable manner.
Yeah. Now, the thing about physical AI, you talked about AMD. Also, Anirudh Devgan at Cadence.
Yeah.
I mean, most of his talk was what he presented at Cadence Live a few weeks ago, which we reported on as well. But I think what he did say is, physical AI is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar market fairly soon. And I think what I'm hearing a lot, although TSMC put up the slide saying 55% of their, obviously the market right now is HPC and AI, and all the others were like small numbers, like tens and 15s. But I think what we're hearing is physical AI will be that next thing, even though HPC is currently the big driver of that semiconductor market revenue.
Exactly. So, and a point was made about how important the smartphones still are. I believe that's a TSMC
it was a
presentation.
TSMC. I mean,
about how important it still is.
Driving innovation, actually, yeah.
And driving innovation, exactly. It was previously the biggest market for chips, but now it's HPC and AI.
Yeah.
But it's still driving innovation. I think that was kind of the point he made. Yeah. But they're constantly growing. TSMC. They have no room. They're not backing off at all. Their revenue is shooting up, even given that Intel might have won a deal with Apple. Yeah. I enjoyed. Surprisingly, Jensen Huang didn't show up, of course, but we enjoyed watching him on video, and he won the Lifetime Award
this year's Lifetime Achievement
as
Award,
did his first cousin last year. His first cousin being Lisa Su of AMD. Yeah. Imagine what dinner time conversations were like in that family when they're
here's
teenagers.
My award, here's yours.
Exactly.
But I'm not sure if I heard it here or whether I just read it this morning, but the other thing was you talked about the smartphone driving innovation, but then the Kevin Zhang at TSMC also talked about the automotive.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think either he said or somebody said was, it's this, when people talk to him about software-defined vehicles, no, it's silicon-defined vehicles. I think this software-defined is too much of an abstraction from what is really happening there. Right.
Yeah, the automotive came up big time as well because that's a big application area for AI. Yeah.
In terms of conversations on the floor, I mean, I think it's been quite interesting. I mean, I've seen, like as always, pretty interesting technologies. What is close to my heart is the sort of neural, the brain, bio-inspired stuff, but also the neural implants, which can enable people to speak. And I think people who know what I've sort of written over the past few years will know why that's of interest to me in terms of enabling impulses from the brain to be read and somebody's intent to be actually communicated. But there was a lot of bio-inspired stuff again. We saw it a few years ago, but there's a bit of a revival now on the bio-inspired.
That's right. Yeah, I don't remember the context, but I do remember the talk about the presentation showing that they measured a person's intent to say something.
That's right, yeah.
And then inserted words for that person. What was it? Which one was that?
No, it was probably Patrick, actually, who did it in his keynote. But I think more broadly, I think he was talking about the future being brain-inspired.
Right.
And I think it's kind of like we used to hear about it quite a lot, and then it went away, but it's now started again.
Right. Particularly spiking neural networks. We heard a lot about that with Leti.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
What's your key takeaway from today then?
I don't know.
AI.
Well, obviously AI. Well, my key takeaway. Somebody said this. I can't remember who said this, but things are happening now faster than they've ever happened, and they'll never happen.
Ian, come over.
Okay. So
this is a friend of ours. Ian, come.
Hi.
So Ian, what was your key takeaway today? Oh, this is our friend
Wait,
Ian
let me
Cutress.
just finish my quote. The quote is, tell me who said this, things are happening today faster than they've ever happened, but slower than they ever will again. Somebody said that.
Ian,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you want an opportunity to say what your takeaway was today?
Things are getting better. Moore's law is not dead.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
I'm socially anti-Jensen on this one.
Yeah.
It's I prefer Jim Keller's take on it. There are more people working on this stuff than ever before, right? So things are getting better, as in improvements still happen.
Right. In terms of cramming more transistors into a chip.
Yeah, more transistors, faster transistors, more power efficient transistors.
Right.
The problem is Moore's law gets corrupted a little bit, whether people think you're talking about density or economics.
Yeah,
or
that's what
chip.
he meant. I think that's what people mean when they said it's dead. There's still improvements. He said that. There's still lots of improvements, but not by cramming more transistors into the same space.
Part of his argument is also the only way you're going to 10x is by doing something radically different
Right.
in terms of architecture,
Right.
in terms of software, which he's done.
Right. And who said something like AI needs 1,000 times more something every year? What was it?
I'm not sure,
What
but
was
I
that
think
number?
Patrick actually did.
Was it power?
I forgot, but it's something like a Moore's law in terms of of demand.
And I think Ian, it was you who said that some of the presentations you've seen over the last few weeks already, but I think it was Kevin Zhang from
It was
TSMC.
particularly funny, actually.
It was actually
He always is.
unusually we heard quite a entertaining speech from somebody at TSMC. But the thing I think he said was about the 48x increase in the number of transistors to do the same thing or something like that.
Yeah, well, from a personal perspective, you remember back in Windows 3.1 when you'd open a Word document, and it would be bytes, in kilobytes.
It would take a minute to load.
No, but now you can't save a document without it being a megabyte, right?
Exactly.
It's only metadata to help improve it. Technology is the same thing. It's we're 64-bit format and lots of vectors, lots of matrix multiply, and then we've got to be able to transport all the memory around. We have 2048-bit buses. We had companies here talking about 3D stacked memory. A startup on a panel was talking about MRAM-based filamentary stacked memory. Not only with preferred networks doing Japan stacked memory and. What was it? Rani from Microsoft.
Rani, yes.
I believe she said, we've been doing all this stuff for such a long time. It just turns out that it's what we need when it's ready.
That's a good point.
She was actually. I actually quite enjoyed Rani Borkar's fireside chat, and I think one of the things she also said, which is quite interesting, was. And she didn't say this, but it sounds like it's like a Wild West at the moment, where we sort of everybody's doing their own standards, and we need standardization, consolidation, and I think it's like build up off one highway rather than building multiple highways.
So this happened with GPUs, right? We had 10, 15, 20 different GPU vendors, and now we've coalesced into 2, 3, 4, depending on how you count them. What I want to, I heard that from Ronnie, and I immediately thought, well, hang on, you're making your own chips. So how do you preach this level of consistency and optimization around individual architectures when you're going out and building your own? I mean, their argument is one of their chips is ARM-based, but now they have a custom AI chip as well, Maya, right? So again, you can't get any consolidation in the market if you're also being a component of diversification of the market.
Well, shall I do the standard disclaimer? These views may not represent the views of my company, but it's a personal opinion.
Yeah, but people get invited because they work at places.
Right, true.
But anyway, I thought this event is always good.
And
this day
definitely.
one has been pretty good in terms of the level of information we've received. But again, you can't get away from the fact. I was talking to a bunch of investors, and what's the return on investment on some of these big companies that put all this money into training? But is it going to be some killer app beyond coding? And I think nobody knows yet.
Nobody knows. That's the thing. Nobody knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
It's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
In general.
The question to ask is, what will people pay for?
Yeah.
And it turns out the answer was code.
Oh.
Well, there we go. Well, Pat and Ian, thanks for that impromptu entrance, and hopefully we'll get something more to you from day 2 tomorrow, but for now, we're all signing off.
Goodbye.
See ya.